deep dive. Todd Furman on the Bet the Board pod. If you were giving advice to new sports bettors, what are the first three things you'd tell them? Hard questions to answer in 140 characters. That was tough on Twitter, but we can do it here on SportsBet. You've been in this racket a long time, Teddy. What do you think?
Yeah, and Furman, Furman's a friend of the show, a guy who used to be the one of the sportsbook directors over at Caesars, and he's gone on his own, and now he does a pretty good podcast at Bet the Board, a real good podcast at Bet the Board pod. You can follow him on Twitter. But he sent out the tweet yesterday, and I thought it was a real good tweet. If you're giving advice to new sports bettors, what are the first three things you tell them? And he was getting some response. I'm like, I can't answer that in 140 characters. Well, let's talk about it here. Number one, my number one piece of advice for a newbie. Betting skills are every bit as important as handicapping skills. Worry about half points. Be aware of line moves. Make sure you have multiple accounts. When you're winning and pushing on games that others lose, it makes a huge difference long term on your ROI, your return on investment, and your bankroll growth. So we talk all the time about handicapping and what game do you like. We don't talk nearly enough about betting skills. That'd be my number one piece of advice, Pauly.
All right. How about number two?
Well, number two is a simple one. The old adage, and this is something, it's one of these sports betting mantras. It gets repeated and repeated and repeated. And most of them aren't true. This one is true. This is a marathon, not a sprint. This is a grind, not a get-rich-quick scheme. Even the best bettors in the world are going to go to bed 100 days a year with less money in their pockets, less money in their bankroll than when they started the day. You never want to accept losing, Pauly. You can't accept losing, or else you're not going to be any good in this business. But you have to learn to live with losing, or it's going to eat you alive. And for me, this is one of the toughest things to learn, is every time I lost a game when I moved out here, it was a nightmare. You'd eat you up and eat you up. And as you get more experienced, you still hate to lose. You never can accept it. And when you're going through a skid or something, you're working as hard as you possibly can to get over it. But you have to learn to live with it, or it'll eat you up. And that's just part of being human. So marathon, not a sprint. That's a piece of advice number two.
Yep, very good. You got to be able to handle the beats, the bad beats. You're right about that. And take the losses. Get the best number. Shop around. Have multiple accounts. Also, don't bet a lot to win a little. I would, especially if you don't have a huge bankroll, and play with streaks. Don't play against them. What's number three? This is a good one too.
Well, yeah, number three, it could easily be number one. And pardon my language, but number three is don't fucking chase. You want to bet more when you're winning, when you're seeing things clearly, when the games are, I like to call them, jumping off the page at you. That's when you're stepping up your wager size. When you've shown profitability in this sport this season, you're allowed to adjust your wager size up. You never, ever, ever want to double up and triple up and quadruple up when you're ice cold just because you don't want to pay your man. That is a recipe for disaster. Don't chase. That's my three pieces of advice right there. Good discussion from Furman, but of course, from Furman, I should say. But it brings us to a story, doesn't it, Pauly? There's always a story with this stuff.
Let's have, this is a good, I don't remember this game. What is it?
Okay, so this is my second year in Las Vegas. I moved out here in 98. I had a good season. I moved out here in 99. It ended up being a very good season, but my October was not good. I had a real bad month. I was losing on Saturdays and I was losing on Sundays. And all of a sudden, it's week 7, 1999. I've had a bad month. And I find a game that I can't lose. This is my lock, Pauly. It's Cordell Stewart versus Chris Chandler on Monday Night Football. And the money's pouring in on Pittsburgh. I took Atlanta plus 5.5. I took some plus 6. I found some 6.5. I ran over to the stratosphere to get a plus 7. I was playing most of my money with plus the points, but I was putting between a quarter and a third of my money on the money line as well. Atlanta to win the game straight up. And I violated every rule, Pauly. I put every dollar that I had on that game. Look, it was the last Saturday in October. I didn't have November rent. I was living in an apartment at the time. I didn't have money to bet the next week if I lost. I mean, there was no friggin' plan whatsoever. I had credit cards. That's not the plan anybody wants when they're in Vegas. So here I am, not following my own rule. I'm all in on the Atlanta Falcons on Monday Night Football. So what happens? Well, the Steelers dominate. They waste a chance to go up 17-0 before halftime. They go in 13-0. It's still 13-0 going into the fourth. Pittsburgh playing very conservatively with Cordell at quarterback. And then suddenly Atlanta finally gets a drive. They get a touchdown, and I'm covering this nightmare game. And then there's 2nd and goal at the 2-minute warning from the 1-yard line. And I'm going to cash everything, the money line bets, all the different point spreads. So they got stuffed 3 times. So they're still down 6, and I'm going to win some, lose my money lines. Then the Steelers get stuffed too, and we get the dream scenario, an intentional safety, and now Atlanta's got the ball back and a big Tim Dwight return, and all of a sudden they're 1st and goal again from the 5. 2nd and goal after the spike, 1 play to win, didn't come through. Well, the Falcons covered. I got my money back. I won a little bit. I didn't have the huge score I was hoping for, but had they lost that game against the spread, Pauly, it's highly likely none of y'all would have ever heard of me, nor would I be here in Las Vegas. That's the risk you take when you're betting, when you're chasing.
We didn't have a plan? You had no backup plan?
I mean, that to me, I love the game. I love the game, and I was, when you're going through struggles, I had losing Saturday, losing Sunday, losing Saturday, losing Sunday, Monday Night Football. I was like, this is my all-in. No, I really did not know what I would have done on Tuesday morning.
Hey guys, for the full video, go to sbrpicks.com.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.